Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bimi Salaboide. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm going to be taking your questions on children health issues for the next 16 minutes. So if you are here, let me know you are here. Please drop a comment in the comment section, and please help us to share the video. Invite your friends and family and let them join us, and just invite anyone that should be here, and I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to make sure we share the video to all our various platforms and that everyone can see me. So while I'm doing that, please feel free to start dropping your questions in the comment section. I hope you've had a wonderful Monday. I'm also trying to just check my videos and make sure that they are pinned and they are in every section. So welcome everyone. Welcome to ATP Live Monday. I hope you can hear me live and clear. Okay, I think I can see my video in our Facebook group. All right, so please drop your questions. Trying to find my video. Okay, I've seen it now. So drop your questions in every platform that you're watching from, whether you're watching on Instagram. I can see those of you on Instagram, Julie, Okwedami, everybody, you're welcome. I'm also just going to share the video to our groups so that everybody can see them. So welcome everyone, and please start dropping your questions so that we can answer them on time. We don't want to rush towards the end. So drop your questions. Any question on children health issues, welcome. And please make sure if you are asking any questions, start with the age of the child. Pediatricians will see children from age of 0 to the age of 18 years. So we like to know the age of the child we're talking about, because different children, different issues for different ages, and the way we approach them could be different. So we always like to know with the age of the child. If you're asking us question about the weight, your baby is not gaining weight, we need to know the weight of the child, maybe preferably the birth weight and the current weight of the baby. So we like to know all those kind of information. That will make life easier for us so that we don't have to go back and forth. And please try and keep your questions straight to the point. Don't write too much to the point that Facebook will cut off your question and I won't say the rest. So don't tell us the whole life history. Just go straight to the point, to the question you want to ask, and make it concise. I know it's sometimes difficult for parents to know which information is relevant and which is not relevant, but try and just go as much as you can, straight to the point, and then it'll be easier to answer the question. All right, so I think I'm almost done with all my sharing and pinning. And whether you're watching on YouTube and you're watching on Instagram, or you're watching on Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group proper, or any of our pages, you can just drop your own questions straight onto the comment. But if you're watching on ATP Family, ATP Still a Mom, FTM Baby Care Group, you may need to click on the video to drop your question. If you don't have a question, it's fine. You can just keep watching. But if you have a question, you have to drop it. You have to click on the video to ask questions, because that's the only way I'll be able to see your question. But if you are watching on Ask the Pediatricians proper, that's fine. You can just drop your questions straight onto Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group comment section. If you want me to see your name, you need to give uh, what's the name? You need to give StreamYard the permission to share your name. Otherwise, I'm just going to see you as a Facebook user. But if you're on Instagram, you're on YouTube, you're on Ask the Pediatricians Foundation Facebook pages, you can just drop your questions there, and I'm going to be able to answer your questions. All right, so thank you so much. Okay, I want to welcome everybody again now as we're going to start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Pediatrician Live. Yeah, this is a program by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation where we get to answer your children health questions live and direct from the pediatrician in 1 hour. However, please, if you can't ask your questions in the 1 hour, remember that you always have opportunity to ask your questions on our Facebook groups. We have three four major Facebook groups. We have Ask the Pediatricians, which, as the name suggests, is for children health issues. So you can ask your questions on our Facebook group from Mondays to Fridays. Monday to Saturdays every week, apart from Sundays, and we answer over 1,000 questions every week. So feel free to go to our group, and our moderators, our professionals, they'll be able to give you evidence-based answers to your questions. If you have questions about your own personal health issues for adults, you can post it on our ATP family Facebook group. So that is for adults. And if you have questions on first time mom, we have the FTM baby care group as well. You can post your questions there. And we also have ATP Still a Mom, which is our support group for parents who have lost either a pregnancy or children. So we provide some psychological, emotional support for such parents on ATP Still a Mom Nigeria Facebook group. So those are the various platforms. You can always go to our YouTube. Please follow us on YouTube, ATP TV. You can see all the links on my background for those on Facebook and YouTube. And for those who are on Instagram, if you go to our bio, our profile, you will see all our links there. And you can follow us on our YouTube. You can watch all these past videos on YouTube. It's on our Instagram TV channel. It's on our Facebook page. So you can always watch past episodes. And also, even on Thursday, we do ATP Hour, which is where we actually just teach on a particular topic, not for question and answer, but we just teach on a particular topic. Or you can actually also follow my podcast on Ask Dr. Bemi ATP. It's on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and all of them. So just Google Ask Dr. Bemi ATP, and you will see all the various topics that I've taught on, and you can listen and please share them and join us in our crusade against unnecessary and preventable deaths of children, which is all that we're trying to do. We don't want any child dying from preventable causes of death. That's our vision on Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. And beyond all that we do on social media, we actually go actually to the communities as well. So we do community outreaches, and currently we are actually doing our school outreaches. Most of our volunteers all over Nigeria have been going to various states and going to schools and giving health education, donating first aid boxes, and just supporting our school communities to be healthy. And we welcome you to support us if you want to donate. If you can get that on our website or on our pages as well, you see all our details there. We welcome partnership. We welcome any form of support that will help us to be able to reach more Nigerian children and families. So that's all my announcements. Then I can go straight to the business of the day, which is to answer your children health questions. And today I'm going to start with Instagram, and then I will shuffle between Instagram and YouTube, Facebook as well. All right, so I can see there's so many questions already today. Thank you so much. That's lovely. The first question I have on Instagram is from Beach Bichimes, okay, or Bichimes, sorry if I mispronounced that. My apologies. So please, can a 9 month old baby take Kata medicine? So the question is, what is Kata medicine? Which medicine do you have in mind in particular? So you have to be more specific. But the truth of the matter is that we don't want you to take any medicine. There's no medicine for Kata for a 9 month old baby. All right. So 9 month old baby, when they have Kata or what we call like nasal discharge and or which is usually due to what we call acute respiratory infections, is most of the time they are caused by viruses. So which means that they don't require any drugs in particular for treating them. They are going to go on their own, especially if the child doesn't have fever, the child doesn't have fast breathing, the child doesn't just take kata alone, just clean it and keep the child warm, let them drink a lot of water. It will resolve by itself. And make sure it's not as if the child, if it's smelling and it's bringing out like pores, because sometimes children put things in their nose. So I don't expect a 9 month old to do that. Then that can also cause them to have nasal discharge, but that will be foul smelling and all that. But if it's just normal, like running nose, that there's no pause or any foul smell and the child is not having fever or anything, there's really no need to give any medication. Sometimes some children have the mucus becomes so thick and it block their nose and it's difficult for it to come out. So sometimes we recommend you put like saline, normal saline, just a normal saline, but it's sold as saline drops. You just drop it in the nose. And the job of that is just to soften the mucus. It's not doing any magic. It's not going to make the catheter go. It is just to soften the mucus so that it can flow out and it doesn't block the nostril. So it is not like, because I get a lot of mothers telling me, oh, I've been using saline drops for 3 days, 4 days, and the catheter is there. The saline drops is not a drug. It's not an antibiotic. It's not an antiviral. It's not going to stop the catheter. It is just to make sure that any thick mucus can flow out and so that the child can breathe better. Because sometimes when they have those thick mucus blocking the nose, they struggle to breathe. So the catheter is the saline just to soften it and to make it flow out. It's not going to do any magic. The catheter or whatever is going to run its normal course. The course is really about uh, 14 days. So it may take 14 days for it to completely resolve, but it will eventually resolve. So please do not give cough syrup, do not give any other medication, especially in a period where we're having a lot of medication that are contaminated circulating. And a lot of mothers are using this medication, and children, actually in Gambia, currently are ending up with renal failure and they are dying. So we don't want you to go around using any of these unnecessary medications to avoid becoming victims of that. So please just let the baby be. All right, DP string say my 2-year-old has been coughing slightly with catarrh for about a month, taken to the hospital twice, but no changes yet. What can I do? The question is, why is she coughing slightly? You say for a month. So the question is, why is the child coughing? So the explanation I gave for the catheter just now can also apply to your baby. So usually, but then within 2 weeks, the catheter or the cough should have gone if it's a viral infection. So if your child is always coughing, then the question is why. There are two possibilities: either the child is always getting infected again. In other words, your child's the catheter and cough is resolving, and the child is going back to a place, especially if your child is going to like a crèche or play group where there are other children who are also coughing, then the child just keep coughing because they keep reinfecting each other. So that may be an explanation. If that is not the situation, then the question your doctor needs to ask is, why is the child coughing for 1 month? Okay, obviously it doesn't sound like a very serious cough from the way you are saying, just a coughing slightly with catarrh. So obviously it's not something serious. The question is, why is the child having it for 1 month? So if your child is going to crash or play group or places where other people are coughing, you may want to keep the child at home for a while just to break that cycle, and then hopefully the child recovers, because that is usually the common reason for such children having recurrent cough and catarrh, because they are getting exposed to other children who are having it, so they just keep circulating it. Okay. Queen Hamina say my 3 months old has cough and catarrh. Okay, I think today is the day for cough and catarrh. All right. All the questions is cough and catarrh. I think the weather, I think we're I don't know what is happening. Maybe we're going to the wet season and all that. So sometimes things may be more prominent during certain periods and then the other, but it's still the same answer. So don't, no cough syrup, no cough syrup. Don't give the child any medication. Most of those cough and catarrh are due to viruses. They do not require any medication. They will go by themselves. Just leave the child alone. If your child has fever, if your child has fast breathing, if your child has difficulty with breathing, you should take them to hospital, because that is when we're suspecting things like pneumonia, and that is when we will use antibiotics. Otherwise, the child is just running nose, having slight cough, no fever, child is eating, playing. Don't give any drugs. Just leave them alone. But more importantly, during this weather, let's keep our children warm. Let's make sure they eat, regularly. Let's make sure that our children are all immunized for their ages. So just avoid smoke, avoid other people that are having cough and catarrh. You avoid them as much as possible. Actually, sometimes it's difficult to avoid them, but if you can avoid, for your 3 months old, please breastfeed exclusively. Exclusive breastfeeding will protect your baby against acute respiratory infections. So keep your baby exclusively breastfed. Make sure you keep baby at home, keep baby warm, and avoid people. Actually, the older siblings who are going to school and going to cry, they come back home with all this cough and catarrh, and they want to kiss the baby. They are going to infect the baby with all these respiratory infections. So you need to focus on the prevention aspect as well, rather than focusing on medication. There's no medication to be recommended for the child. All right. I think I'll take one more question and I'm going to go to Facebook. So Deep String say, can a 2-year-old toddler take golden morn and custard? So golden morn manufacturers say it should be used from the age of 3 years. So read the instruction on the label. It's meant for children from age of 3 years. There are other cereals that your child can take, and you don't even need to buy any store or products. You can make your all the own cereals that you have in your own house. Your children can eat them. Your maize, you can make it into ghee or pap. Is the same thing. The same thing applies to custard. These are just products that are made in industrial kitchen. It's still the same thing that you have in your own house. So you can buy your own maize and make your own ogi or your pap, and you can give your child. It's not compulsory for you to buy anything at all from the store. So but there's no problem with your baby taking custard and all that. But for the golden morn, the manufacturers want you to give it from the age of 3 years, and they actually have all the cereal brand that they want your children to take before the age of 3 years. So that is their recommendation, and that's what we will tell you. All right, so I'm going to post on Instagram, go to Facebook, and take a few questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. All right, somebody said, what is good food? All food are good for a 1 year and 4 months to make him gain weight and fresh. All food are good for a 1-year-old, 4 months old child. There's no special food that make anybody gain weight or make anybody be fresh. All food are okay for children to eat. The most important thing is that you are giving them in the right proportion. So I'm going to recommend that you go to, since you're from our Facebook group, go to the guide section, go through our uh, uh, the videos that are there on complementary feeding. You need to understand the principle behind complementary feeding. There are different classes of food. So we have the carbohydrates, we have the protein, we have the fruits and veggies, we have the dairy products and all that. The most important thing is that when you are giving your children food, you are putting all the various food classes. So at each point in time, you must have at least 4 out of those food classes in your child's plate. So if you go also to our group, you will see what we call my food plates. So there's a concept of what we call my plates, or food plates, and it is divided into sections. So there's a section where you should put carbohydrates, there's a section where there must be protein, there's a section there where there must be vegetables and fruits, there's a section for dairy, and of course water. So you must make sure you have all the different sections there. So it is not one particular food that you give your child. There's no food in the world that once you give the child has everything. I think the only food in the world that can actually qualify for that is egg. It has a lot of things inside it and maybe milk. But even then, it is not enough, because there are still so many other things that your child still need that will not be in that one food. So, but you must put everything together. So this kind of question always worries me because parents are looking for one magical food that when they give their child, then everything will be fine. There is nothing like that. There is no magical food, and there is no one food that take all the boxes. You must put all of them together in the right proportion, and then you must also give variety. So even when you're giving proportion, let's say in the morning you have your pap as a carbohydrate, and then maybe you've broken an egg into your pap, that is the source of the protein. Of course, you're going to put milk. Maybe you've put a 1 spoon of palm oil, that's the palm oil. And of course, maybe you also have like some fruits. You can decide to maybe blend some banana, or you can even just cut it by the side. That doesn't have to mix everything together, not necessarily. So that is a complete adequate meal. But in the afternoon, you may decide that, okay, this time around, I will have maybe semo or whatever other form of swallow that you people have, or amala, whatever. That will be your source of carbohydrates. Then you may decide I'm going to have ewedu or okra soup. That will be your veggies and all that. Of course, you're going to put Titus fish or whatever. That will be your source of protein at that time. And of course, the child can eat it. You had all the other your tomato and all that. Those are all fruits that you can go into that. So you must always be creative, and that's why when mothers ask, can you give me a food timetable, I don't give food timetable, because what you eat in your own culture will be different from what I may eat in my own culture. So Yoruba people, for example, they do a lot of ewedu and all the mala. Some other culture, they do hapu and all the things. So different cultures have different names, but we all still have the same kind of food groups in all the cultures. So you have to now understand, what is this food? What is it supplying? Okay, this food is the carbohydrate food. This one is the protein food. This one is the animal protein. This one is the plant protein. This one is the vegetable. This one is the fruits. This one is the oil or fat. Then how do I mix them together? And there are different recipes. The most important thing is that at the back of your mind, you know that you are giving all the different food classes at the same time. And don't just stick to giving one food. That's why children get bored. And then you give them, some people is pap morning, pap afternoon, pap night. And after a while, or the particular cereal they are buying in the store, and after a while, the child just gets tired. And their parent will like, oh, my child is not eating. It's because we are not understanding the principle behind feeding the child. So once you understand the principle, then you can sit, make your own timetable, add variety to it, and even one particular food you can cook it in different ways. So and just make it interesting and appealing to the children. So there's no one good food. Every food is good. It's the way you put them together that will help your child to have good weight and to be fresh. And if you're eating well, your children will be fresh. So I decided to go into details, because that question is a recurrent question, and I'm sure everybody's going. Some people is going actually going to ask the same question in different forms. So I decided to go into detail, because I'm not going to answer that kind of a question in that detail again. All right, thank you, Doctor. Somebody saying I'm watching from Qatar. Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to have you join us. Unfortunately, I can't see your name, but thank you so much for watching. Somebody say 1 year, 4 months old baby is just laying and coughing. Okay, if you say your child is laying, I want to know the weight of the child. That is number one. I always want to know the weight. What can we get through? We thought it's teeth. Okay, teething is something you should remove from the list of all your diagnoses. I know mothers love they have what we call favorite diagnosis. So if it is not teething, it is measles or it's chickenpox. Those are the mother's favorite diagnosis, and most of the time those diagnoses are wrong. So teething doesn't even make a child sick. It doesn't make a child to be lean. It doesn't cause cough. It doesn't cause diarrhea. It doesn't cause anything in the child, because teething is a normal developmental milestone. So if your child is sick, don't assume teething. Don't ever assume teething. It's one of the most common reasons for late presentation of children to the hospital. As a pediatrician, you're in the hospital, you are seeing a very sick child, and you're like, excuse me, where have you been? 2, 3 days, 4 days ago, this child has been sick. And the mother's favorite answer is, oh, we thought it's teething. And of course, when they thought it's teething, they gave teething medication as well. And by the time they come, it's too late. Sometimes the pediatricians can't do any miracles. I know you think we can, but sometimes we can't do any miracles. And if it's too late, it's too late. So if a child is sick, please do not assume sitting. Take that child to the hospital to see a doctor. If a child is losing weight, a child who is coughing and is losing weight, you have not told us how long the child is coughing for. You have not told us the weight of this baby. So you have not told us any useful information to help me have an idea what may be going on. But that kind of a child needs to go to the hospital. That child needs to see a doctor, preferably a pediatrician. All right. So Alicia said, my baby will be 11 months old. He's here to stand. He's just holding the chairs to stand and walk. That is fine. So that your child is cruising, and cruising is what we expect in an 11-month-old. That is normal. Most babies will walk by 1 year, so there's no hurry about developments. I know mothers are always in a hurry because you're always comparing your child to another child. Maybe you've seen an 11-month-old who is walking, which is perfectly fine, but it doesn't mean that your own 11-month-old who is not working is slow. It's not. Your child is still fine. So there's no need for you to worry. Just let the baby be. I will only worry if your child is not working by 18 months, because everything is a range. Just like our height is a range. So you see some people are very tall, and it doesn't mean that those who are not as very tall are short. It just means it's in grade. The same thing with development. So children attain their developmental milestones at different ages. So there's a wide range for everybody. So some people will work early, some people will work a little bit later, but doesn't mean it's late. So, but we have what we call the cutoff point. So for us, cutoff point for working is 18 months. That is when it's late for a pediatrician. Anything before 18 months is not yet late. We still take it as within the average timeline. So you don't need to worry. Okay, somebody said the problem with this page is that they never answer any question. I really think that is not true, because I said this morning there was no question waiting to be answered. So if you have a question, ask your question and we will answer them. Make sure you put your question in the right section. Because you're asking from our Facebook group. So if you're asking for our Facebook group, definitely we will answer your question from our Facebook group. Remember that there's a timeline for answering questions. It's 48 to 72 hours. Don't ask emergency questions. If you have any emergency, you got to go to the hospital, because all the people that are going to answer your questions, they are full-time doctors who work in hospitals as well. So they are waiting for you in the hospital. So answering your questions is health education, health information. It is not an emergency. So if you have anything that is an emergency, you need to have the answer now. You have to go to the hospital. But anything that can wait, you can always ask and we will answer them. So I will encourage you to go through our welcome posts and all our terms and guidelines and conditions that you have understanding there. So that is that. I hope you have understanding now. All right, the next person say, good evening. My baby was born at 36 weeks, birth weight of 3.5, and current weight is 10 kilos. You didn't tell us the age of your baby, 6 months. Okay. I'm worried that if you stand him on your thigh, he can't stand. Your 6-month-old should not be standing. So there's no reason for you to stand the baby in the first instance. So there's no reason to worry, because you are not supposed to be standing a 6-month-old baby. What we want a 6-month-old baby to do is to sit with support. Okay, so there's another thing. Sometimes we are unnecessarily putting pressure on the babies when they are not ready for things. So there's no reason why you should even be standing a 6-month-old baby. 6-month-old baby should have neck control, should be able to sit with some pillow support. So if your baby is able to do that, that is all that I really think your baby should be doing, and I'm not going to worry about anything. But your baby is also a little bit overweight. 10 kilos for a 6-month-old is on the high side. So you need to just keep an eye on that, because your baby was not too big at the beginning. Your baby was 3.5. Even 3.5 at 36 weeks was a little bit on the high side, but still normal. But 10 kilos at 6 months is too much. So just watch. Make sure you go through our complimentary feeding guide Feed your baby. Don't overfeed children. I know some mothers just want the baby to be very big and chubby. Too much is also not good. Okay, we want the baby to have good weight, but we are not interested in babies being too big. A lot of mothers just want the baby to be very big. It's not always good. It's not good as well. We want baby to have healthy weights. We want them to have normal weights. So if they are too small, we worry. If they are too big, we also worry. So let's keep it healthy. Let's try not to overfill them. Feed them appropriately. Exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. After exclusive breastfeeding, keep breastfeeding, and then you start giving complementary feeding. Complementary feeding, please check out the quantity you should be giving, the frequency you should be giving is so important that we do it right. And if you're some babies actually, no matter what you feed them, even when they are not feeding much, they are gaining too much weight. You need to see a pediatrician because there are medical conditions that could make a child obese. There are endocrinological conditions, and we may need to investigate that, and we may need to address it as well. All right, the next question is, my son is having Hela, which is Yoruba word for rashes. So there's no way we can answer that question, like what drug can you use. Number one, we don't even prescribe medication. Number two, every rash has to be seen. A doctor needs to see a rash to know the type of rash it is, because the Yoruba word Ela can be used for many kind of rashes. They will use it for the bacteria kind of rash, for the fungal kind of rashes, for every kind, even the one that is due to allergy. So it's a common Yoruba word. It doesn't really mean anything when it comes to medical diagnosis. So if you think your child has rashes, you have to see a doctor. The doctor needs to look at the rash, and then they will tell you what kind of a rash it is, what is causing the rash, and that is what is going to determine the treatment for the rashes. Okay, you said the healthcare provider we said we should stop using whatever we are using for him, while health centers say we should use herbs. So if you go to a hospital and they told you to use a herb, you have not gone to any hospital. You have gone to see another fellow, because when people go to hospitals, sometimes there are different kind of people that work in hospitals. We have even people that are cleaners. You have the security people. You have, so it's not everybody you see in the hospital who is a doctor or is a nurse. So you have to be careful who you are asking questions. So you see somebody in a hospital who is telling you to go and use herbs, you have not been to a hospital, so you better stop going to that kind of hospital, because doctors are not trained to be prescribing herbs. So no doctor is going to prescribe herbs in any hospital for you. So if you go into a hospital and you're using herbs, you should stop using that hospital, or you should stop talking to whoever you're talking to. You better find a better hospital to use. All right, and there are many government hospitals. If you are not sure which hospital to go to, make sure you go to a good hospital with doctors, pediatricians, and all that. So that's what I'm going to advise for you. But I cannot answer your question because I have to see the rash, which you cannot post on this kind of platform. But you can post a picture on our Facebook group. At least we can give you an idea what kind of a rash it is and what you need to do. All right. Good evening, Eunice. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from YouTube. I'm happy I have somebody from YouTube today. Thank you so much for joining and for watching. I don't think you've not asked any question. We'll expect you to ask your questions. Okay, let me take a pause on Facebook, and I'm going to go to you, Instagram, and then I will quickly answer question and we'll come back. So pretty good. My baby is 1 year, 3 months. Water keep coming out from his eyes even when he's not crying. The doctor said it's normal, but I don't think it is. So I'm not sure what you want us to do between you and your doctor, because you don't seem to trust your doctors. And anyway, so if you have that kind of scenario where you and your doctors are not in agreement, for every part of the body there is a specialist. Okay, there is a specialist for every single part of your body. So of course pediatricians are the specialists for the children, but even for pediatrician we also have pediatricians for each part of the body. All right, so because your issue here is the eyes, so you need to go see the eye specialist. So that's the ophthalmologist. They are the specialists when it comes to issues around the eye. So if you don't trust your general doctor, which is what I assume you have seen, and then you have to go to the experts, and the experts are the ophthalmologists, the eye doctors, and then they can give you the expert opinion. So there are many reasons why children can have watery eyes. You didn't give us other information, whether the eyes is red, whether the child is itching it, whether there's brownish discoloration of the eyes. There are so many questions we need to know. So just the water coming out alone is not enough information. We need to have all the other information before we can even advise you. So, but I'm happy you've seen a doctor who obviously does not think it's something serious, but you want like a second opinion. So when you want a second opinion, you have to go to the specialist. So I'll recommend going to see an eye doctor and let them do further evaluation of your baby's eyes, and then they will tell you whether it's something to worry about or not. At least you have more confidence when you see the specialist. Um, as far as your baby's eyes are concerned. Somebody say, Kimura 2000. I'm trying to win my baby. Please, is there any procedure I should follow so as not to have much pains? And how do I stop the milk on time? So we actually have an article on our website on simple tips for winning. I would recommend you check it out. Go to www.askthepediatricians.com and type simple tips for winning. So there are many tips. You are still going to have pain. There's no cure for that. You're just going to take painkillers. When you stop breastfeeding, your breast will be full and it will be painful. So there's nothing like so as not to have much pains. Okay, you can have pain but not much pains, but you can take painkillers, all right? But what we normally recommend in short is to reduce it gradually. Don't stop suddenly. So if you have been breastfeeding full time, morning, afternoon, and night, you can set it for stop morning breastfeeding, do afternoon and night. Then you can stop afternoon breastfeeding, do only the nights. Okay, so your child is, and make sure your child is already on full family diet. Your child is eating everything. Not that the child is still struggling to eat. You want to stop breastfeeding? No, you must wait on the child is fully established on family diets. Then you can now stop breastfeeding, and then you gradually stop breastfeeding a little at a time. Usually, the ninth time breastfeeding is the last to go, and then when you're ready to go, you just stop. You just stop completely, and when you stop, your child is going to cry. Just have somebody else comfort the child. Make sure you also take painkillers. You may need to wear firm bras and all that. Usually those things will last for like 2 or 3 days, and after that everything will be over. So just but if you want detailed tips, you have to go to our website, and then you can go through all the tips on winning on the website. Okay, somebody said, can a 2-year-old take noodles? Well, your child can eat noodles, but noodles is not the only thing your child should eat. Please make sure you had all the food and so that it will be, balanced. Like I said, there must be protein, there must be vegetables and all that. Even otherwise, if you're just giving only the noodles alone as it is, then that's not complete and it's not good enough. Shifa girl say good evening. My 6-month-old is having cough and catarrh. I think I've answered all questions about cough and catarrh today. So I think I'm just going to pass. I hope you listened at the beginning, but if you didn't, I think you can watch it again and then just follow the instruction. The short answer is that there's no treatment for cough and catarrh. They are going to resolve on their own, and then you're going to just watch and wait it out. But I've given you also indications for going to the hospital if your child has cough and catarrh. Child is having fever, is having difficulty with breathing, you have to go to the hospital. All right, Kemora say I've not answered your question. I think I just answered your question now. So when you post your question, please be patient. Don't be in a hurry. I can't answer your questions straight away. There are questions ahead of you, and I'm also answering questions from Facebook, from YouTube. So I'm answering from so many platforms. Just be patient with me and wait until I answer your question. But I will answer them as much as I can before it is time to leave. All right, Chief Girl say my 3-year, 5 months old. Oh, my 3 years and 5 years old are having recurrent H. pylori. Don't know what is causing it. H. pylori is actually the cause of whatever symptoms they are having. So when you use the word H. pylori, that is Helicobacter pylori. That is the name of the bacteria that is causing whatever symptoms your children are having. So I assume, because H. pylori is not a parent's word, you must have seen a doctor who told you that. I assume they've done some tests and all that. So I assume they should have treated your children. And I think they should have explained to you what is going on. So H. pylori is a Helicobacter pylori. It's a bacteria. So it is causing some, it tends to give children what we call like Pepsi ulcer disease and all those kind of things. But you didn't tell us what your children are having. So you're only telling me the diagnosis your doctor told you. So I really don't know how to answer your question, because you have answered your question by yourself. So when you are asking questions, I would rather you tell me the symptoms that you're seeing, and then let me decide for you what I think is going on. But if you have seen a doctor already and they've given you a diagnosis, then that's fine. And I believe that if they give you a diagnosis, they will give you the treatment as well. It's very unusual for doctors to tell you a diagnosis and not to tell you the treatment. So I think you should just follow up with the doctors who told you the diagnosis of H. pylori. So, and then they will tell you the treatment. All right, I think I'll pause on on Instagram, and I'll go back to Facebook. All right. Somebody say, please, ma'am, my baby is having spit up rashes. Okay, I've been using pseudo-cream. I'm really not sure what you mean by spit up rashes. So, are you saying your baby is having reflux? Because that's my understanding of reflux. And then the reflux is causing rashes. That's very unusual. Or your child is drooling saliva and it's causing rashes. Again, very unusual. So it's best we see the rashes first, and don't assume. That's another thing. Sometimes mothers assume a rash is due to something which has no connection at all. So you think your child is spitting up and that is what is causing rashes. For number one, if a child is spitting up to the point that is causing rashes, I will worry about that spit up. That means it's a lot, or it means you are not really cleaning it up. Because usually when children spit up, I expect you to just clean it off straight away, and that should not cause rashes. Unless the child is really drooling and the bib are so wet and they are stuck on the child's body for so long, and then that's why the child will have rashes. Otherwise, spit up, drooling should not cause rashes. So that's why number one, I have difficulty with the terminology spit up rashes, number one. So I would rather you see a rash and then decide what is causing the rash and decide what the treatment is. Pseudo cream is not the treatment for rashes. A lot of mothers always post questions and say, my child is having this rash and I've used pseudo cream or I've used Tributan, and then it's as if, why should the rashes not go because I've used those products? As if those products are like magical solutions to all rashes. And I'm always surprised when I read those questions, because those products are not the solution to rashes. Like I said earlier, in the first person that asked question about rashes, there are different kind of rashes, and different rashes are caused by different things. So there are rashes that you don't need to do anything, they're just going to go on their own. There are rashes that are due to the fact that your child is reacting to something else that you're applying on the body, and all you need to do is to stop that product that you're applying and the rashes will go. We don't even need to do anything about it. And there are rashes that are due to infection. So it could be a bacterial infection. We need to use antibacterial. It's a rash that is due to fungal infection. We need to use antifungal. So if your child, for example, has a fungal infection, kind of a rash, and you're putting pseudo-cream, it's not going to go away because pseudo-cream is not an antifungal medication. So it's not going to work on it. So there is no cure is all. I know it's very common in our culture where people sell drugs and they give you the impression that once you use this drug, it's going to go. And even some pharmaceutical companies as well, they market their products to that point and give mothers the impression like once they use their products, everything is going to disappear. It is all marketing, it's all lies, it's not true. There is no single product that will take care of all rashes or that will cure all rashes. It's not true. So the most important thing for doctors is to know, number one, what is the rash? What is the rash? What kind of rashes we're talking about? There are different names. I won't want to bore you with the medical jargons. Then the question is, what is causing the rash? Then when we answer the question, what is causing the rash, then we will answer the question of what is the treatment for the rash. So avoid just using any product when your children have rashes. The best thing is to take the rash to see a doctor and let the doctor decide the cause of the rash and tell you the treatment for the rash. Sometimes we don't need to even treat. Sometimes we just tell you, oh, is that product your baby is using? Stop it. And that's the end of the rash. So it's very important to know what is causing the rash. All right. Somebody say, oh, they do reply. I've asked several questions. I've got through. So, okay, so this is, I think this person is responding to the other person that say we don't answer question on this page, and obviously there's somebody else who have seen that we do answer question on the page, and obviously we all know the answers to the person. The fact that you've asked one question that has not been answered because you just asked today does not mean we don't answer questions on our page. And I'm happy that we have people that can confirm that, because we answer 1,000 questions every week on that group. So we know what we do, whether you see it or not. All right, don't worry, we know what we do. So the person who was complaining, instead of you to complain, you just have asked your question and I would have answered the question, but you use that opportunity to complain rather than to ask the question and get your answer. All right, somebody say, hello man, thank you so much. My 3 months, okay, I think we've answered this question of spit up rashes. It's a double question. All right, somebody say, a baby of 2 years 6 months is here to talk. So in South Africa, they was taken to hospital, but doctor said that they won't be worried until 3 years old. No, that's not true. That's I don't believe that is South Africa. Okay, so if a child is not talking, that child needs to see a speech therapist, not even a doctor. And I'm sure speech therapists in South Africa will not say they will not do anything until the child is 3 years old. That is not true, because I have been to South Africa. I train in South Africa as well as a developmental pediatrician, so I know what they do in South Africa. So you may have gone to see the wrong doctor, or I'm not sure who you saw, but what you need to ask for is to be referred to a speech therapist. And speech therapists will see children from the age of 2 who are not talking. So that is not correct information. I'm not sure who you saw, but you need to go back. So if it's your GP you saw, you need to ask for a referral to see a speech therapist. And there are speech therapists that are private, there are speech therapists that are in government hospitals, so you can see one of them. We don't wait until 3 years old before we do something about speech. A child who is not talking at 2 must see a speech therapist. That child needs to start speech therapy immediately. And that information is not correct at all. All right. And if it's a child that the speech delays due to other issues like autism and all that, you need to see a developmental pediatrician as well. So please, that information, you need to see I think you have not seen the right people, so you need to make sure you go see the right people as well. Somebody say good evening. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much. Another question: how do I stop my 1 year 6 months old from drooling? Okay, so 1 year 6 months old should have stopped drooling, unless maybe they're about to have like maybe a new tooth is about to erupt or something. Sometimes when children are teething, sometimes they bring out a lot of saliva and all that. But usually by 1.5 years old, they should not be drooling all the time. So if your child is drooling all the time, I worry about it. And I want you to see a pediatrician, because there are medical conditions that will make a child to be drooling. And we need to check, especially if the child also has other developmental issues and delay and all that. So if that is there, you need to see a pediatrician. If that is not there, then you need to check what is going on. Check, is the child having anything in the gum, anything that is making them drooling, or is the child drooling all the time? So children can spit up a little bit, but not like they will be drooling. Like you need to change the bib every few minutes or something. How many bibs are you changing a day? Because those are the kind of questions we need to ask, so that we're sure we're on. Because sometimes mothers say child is drooling, and you go there and it's just a little bit of saliva, not like the child is. So the definition of drooling to us is a child who is bringing out spit all the time, and the bibs are wet, or like you are changing bibs 3 or 4 times in 1 hour. Yes, that is the definition of drooling for us, and that is one that will worry us. But if your child just bring out a little saliva that you clean, and you won't need another one, maybe another 3, 4, 5 hours, that is not really drooling, kind of drooling that we worry about. So I really want to be sure we are on the same page, so that we don't start worrying over nothing. Okay, you're doing good, man. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the people that are just here to encourage us for today. Okay, the next question said, my 3 weeks old baby farts a lot. There's nothing wrong with babies farting, and it's okay for the fat to smell. I get all those questions a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. So she stretches, she groans when farting and pooing. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. She poos at least once daily, and her poo is not hard. Nothing wrong with that. I'm worried about her stretches and groaning, about when pooing and farting. There's something for you to worry about. That is perfectly normal for babies to do. All right, I'm sure you're a first time mom. All right, I know you're going to be a first time mom. I didn't even see your last part, but already I know you're going to be a first time mom because this is a typical first time mom question. All right, I don't know how to make her open her mouth to clean the milk patches on her tongue. Okay, there's no way to make her open her mouth. If you put the like your face towel or wherever in your in water, then you roll it up, then you just if you just use your hand to rub the side of the cheek, most babies will open up their mouth. That's the trick. And when they open up their mouth, then you can put your hand in and clean the tongue. It's a very simple thing to do. It's the same way you get them to open their mouth to breastfeed. You can use the nipple to touch the corner of their lips like that. So once you start doing that, they will open it up. So it's a reflex. We call it routine reflex. So we use that reflex to make babies to open their mouths. And then when they open their mouths, you can do whatever you need to do. I am a first time mom. I know you're a first time mom because I can see the sign of a first time mom in your question. So for the first time mothers, I have a product for you, first time mom companion and first time mom frequently asked questions. Let me see whether I have the pictures there. So you can get a copy. It will help you a lot because all these kind of questions, things that normally should not worry, first time mom worries about everything. So you can get a copy of the FTM companion. You can get a copy. You can send us a message or hacks on the group. Somebody will tell you how to get a copy. Or you can also ask questions about frequently asked questions. 500 of them. All these questions have been answered. I recommend them for you. And very soon they will be on Amazon for those of you who like hard copy. Because some people say, oh, we don't like digital. It's a digital product currently. And some people like hard copy products. So we'll make it available for you on Amazon so you can have a hard copy that you can always read. All right. All right, I got a question on YouTube for the first time. Oh, that's lovely. So Eunice, thank you for staying tuned. And see, my baby of 17 months suddenly started rejecting family food. I suspected the pepper. Why were you putting too much pepper before? Okay, I reduced it to the minimum, yet he refuses. If you boil the ingredients separately, he eats. What do you mean boil the ingredients separately? I'm not sure I get that part, but sometimes children just get bored with a particular food that you're giving them and they want variety, they want to try something new. So that is number one thing you need to do. If there's anything you are doing, like you said, you notice the pepper is too much, you reduce it. Children don't need pepper, honestly. It doesn't give them any calories. So I know it's our culture that we should eat pepper, Nigerian culture, especially Yoruba culture. We like eating pepper, but to be honest, it doesn't really have much calories or do anything. So for children, we really don't want to give them pepper until at least they are ready to eat pepper by themselves. So but for below the age of 2, very minimal or even nothing at all. It doesn't matter. All right. So I'm not sure I understand the second part of your question. Like if you boil the ingredients, which ingredients are you boiling separately? Maybe you want to tell me more about that. But general answer is that if anything is working for you, you know that if you do it this way, the child will eat, then we are happy with that. Just do it. But I really still want to get what you mean by boiling it separately. So that I'm sure we're on the same page. All right. The next question is Lady Price. Good evening. My baby of 9 months, 2 weeks, no teeth. Do I need to worry? No, you don't have to worry. Even if your baby doesn't have any teeth by the age of 1 year, you still don't have to worry. But you can see the dentist then. So maybe just don't bring out their teeth on time, but they will still do it. So you don't need to worry. Don't worry. They will bring out the teeth in time for Christmas chicken. Somebody say my 4 weeks old baby doesn't poo every day. That is normal. She poos one in 3 or 4 days. That is normal. She fasts a lot and stretches and groans. That is normal. When she wants to fart, her poo is in her. Is it the same question the first person asks? Because this also sounds like the same question, but everything is normal, and I'm not surprised you're a first time mom, FTM kind of questions. I already know that. So you don't need to worry. It is completely normal for babies on exclusive breastfeeding. They may not pass stool every day. And like you rightly notice, when they pass, the stools are soft, they are not hard. They make all those noises, all those there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with them. Just leave them alone. It's normal for them to do all those things. You don't have to do anything. Just keep breastfeeding them. The next customer, maybe is 2 years old, weight is 10 kilos, mental and milestones, is active but not gaining weight. The weight is not bad. We want them to be around 12 kilos, but 10 kilos is still good. I'm not going to worry about the weight. Just let the baby eat well. Eats normally, deworm every 6 months. That's all. Make sure you are giving. So for you, I'll be looking at the food. Make sure you are giving variety of food. You are making sure we've talked about food. If you still want more information, you can go to our Facebook group and look at the feeding videos, the food classes. Make sure you're giving variety. Make sure you're giving the right quantity, and make sure that the child is eating at least 3 to 4 times a day, 2 snacks a day, healthy snacks, fruits and all the rest. So about 10 kilos is not bad for a 2 year old. We want it to be 12, but 10 is not too far from 12, so it's still okay. And I'm not going to worry about it. All right. A 2 year old baby vagina turns red and she's rubbing herself. Is it due to eat? How do I help her? So some children sometimes at this age they kind of masturbate. I know it's kind of scare parents, but it's nothing to worry about. It's actually a form of body exploration. They kind of feel their body, and the same way they touch their hands, they touch their legs, sometimes they touch their genitals as well. It can happen to boys, it can happen to girls. So what we normally tell parents is not to freak them out by thinking there's something seriously going wrong. Just distract them away from it. Just let them wear pants, wear clothes so that she doesn't have as much access to the genitals. Okay, and make sure you change their pants regularly. Make sure you clean their when they have done a poo, make sure you clean them properly yourself. And some others also don't know that you should clean from the front to the back. So if you clean from the back to the front, you are introducing germs, stools go into the vagina. I mean, the vulva, really, not the vagina. The vagina is actually much more inside, and that can make them to have like what we call vaginitis or infection, and then they will start itching and all that, and that may also make it look red. So make sure you're doing the hygiene properly. You clean them from front to the back. Make sure you clean properly. You can use water, or sometimes some children are allergic to some of these wipes and toiletries. So make sure if you are not sure, use water or hypoallergenic wipes. Make sure that you change the undies or pants regularly. Sometimes for children, you may have to change it 2 to 3 times a day because they make it dirty often. Make sure you use cotton pants, not nylon, not silk, cotton, because cotton can breathe in and out. If your child is not yet fully potty trained, make sure that there are times that you just remove the diaper so that there's some air circulation around the private areas there. And again, make sure you don't just distract them away from always putting their hands in that area. Let them wear pants, let them do something else with their hands, and that's it. So it's not something to worry about. The most important thing is to make sure the child is not having like an infection. So, which is the most important thing. There's no discharge and all that. There's no pain when crying or crying when passing urine and all that. If there is that, then you need to go see a doctor so that they can treat the child properly. I hope that's answer your question. All right, my time is almost up. I'm just going to quickly run down to Instagram, finish all the questions that are on Instagram, and then I can round up. So let's not ask more questions. So if you have questions, you can always ask on our Facebook group. I'm just going to answer all the questions that are already in, and then we'll round it up for the night. Somebody say, which baby milk is best to start for a baby of 6 months old? No milk is best. Your breast milk is still the best milk for your 6 month old. What you need to give your baby is semi-solid and food. you don't need to go buy formula. Again, this question worries me because it shows you don't understand complementary feeding. Complementary feeding is not changing to formula feeding. It is not going to buy milk. It is continue to breastfeed your baby while you give solid food, semi-solid food. So I want you to go to, before you start, don't do anything, just keep breastfeeding your baby. Go to our Facebook group or YouTube channel, go and watch all the complementary feeding videos. You need to watch them first. You need to understand what is complementary feeding because you need to get that. If you don't get it, we're going to run into trouble down the line. So you need to understand what we are doing when we're doing complementary feeding. You don't ever have to buy formula when you start complementary feeding. It is not necessary. As long as you are breastfeeding, there is no need to buy any other milk. The breast milk is still the milk that your 6-month-old baby needs. But breast milk is no longer enough. So what we need to add is other food, semi-solid food, porridge, all those other kind of food, not another formula. Okay. Unless you are not going to be breastfeeding, and then that's when your baby still need milk, and that's when formula will come in. So in the issue of noodles or no noodles, it's up to you. If you don't want to use it, it's fine. There are many other food your baby can eat. And for those who want to use it, it's also okay. All right. I don't like doing controversy. If you already know what you want to do, just do it. There's no law against that. All right. Kumbilisha say my son is 3 years, 9 months. He has been complaining of tummy ache over a year. Okay. I believe you have you been to hospital? I believe so. Recently he had a seizure after complaining. We have done several tummy scans, several medical investigations. Results are negative. So what is the doctor saying about the tummy ache and the seizure? There's something going on. So you have to see a pediatrician. Preferably, you may have to see a pediatric neurologist, and then they will tell you what is wrong. This is definitely not something for this kind of platform because there is more. And obviously, you're already seeing a doctor, which is good. And so you should have all those kind of questions you need to ask the doctor you're seeing. Sometimes it takes us a while to know what is wrong, and sometimes there's nothing wrong. So children can have abdominal pain that has no cause, but we don't assume there is no cause until we've excluded other causes. And the seizure you are mentioning about, is it with fever or without fever? You know, there's so many questions we need to ask, but you need to be seeing a specialist, you need to be seeing a pediatrician or a pediatric neurologist. And please, when you are seeing specialists, be patient with them. So a lot of parents, you want us to give you quick answers like that. You know, sometimes there's no quick answer. Sometimes it takes time to know what is going wrong. So doctors have to do all the tests. We have to look at all of them. We have to think up. So sometimes it takes us time to get the answer. Sometimes there's actually no answer, and we are not oracles. That is the truth. So don't run around with, because that's what parents tend to do when you are waiting for another doctor to tell you the answer, then you want to jump to another doctor. You're just going to go through the whole process over and over again, and it's not the best. You end up wasting lots of resources and money. So stick to the same specialist you're seeing and ask your questions there. If they don't have answers, doctors know when to refer to the next level and all that. So, and sometimes some things we take time to wait it out and then we get the answer. Sometimes there's no answer and then we go away. So I'm happy you're already seeing a doctor who is doing all the scans, who is doing all those things. Unless you are not satisfied with the person you're seeing right now, then you request a referral to a teaching hospital level, because you are going to see the most qualified specialists in teaching hospitals. Then you may want to go there. Otherwise, just give your doctor some time and let them work out. Like, for example, your 3-year-old who is having abdominal pain from one, I'll be looking like doing something like, they may want to do like endoscopy. They may want to look in. There are so many things they need to do beyond the one you've done. So but we do those things in levels. So we do the first level. If we are not satisfied, before we go to the more expensive and more what we call more invasive kind of investigation. So we don't jump to them first. So, but sometimes there's really nothing. But there are other signs we're looking out for that will help them to know whether it's something they should worry about or it's not something they should not worry about. And then I'm not too sure whether there's a link between abdominal pain and the seizure. So there are many details about this. Is not something that we can answer with just 2 or 3 lines. This is something that a doctor who is seeing your child, doing all the tests, knowing who has examined your child, can answer. So just stick with them and be patient. I'm sure they will give you the answer very soon. Somebody say a 3-year-old who has refused to try new meal other than Nutribon. That number one, a 3-year-old should not be on Nutribon at all. It means you didn't do complementary feeding right. By the time children are on 1-year-old level, they should be on the same diet as family is eating. Unfortunately, sometimes mothers were so comfortable with all these cereals we buy in the market, you just miss it and the children are eating it. And then when it's so then they get kind of stuck on them and they don't want to even try family food. You have to do it right from the beginning. A 3-year-old should be eating adult food, should be eating the same food as the rest of the family. There's something really, really wrong here, but it's not too late to go back to doing the right thing. So the right thing to do is to cut it off completely, just stop it, and then give the other food and keep giving the other food. Initially, there will be resistance, there'll be protests and all that, but you have to keep on doing that. 16 kilos is not bad. 16 kilos is actually too much for a 3-year-old, but it's okay. I'm not worried about the weight, but I'm worried about what a 3-year-old is eating. 3-year-old should not be on all these kind of cereals anymore. They should be on the same food the rest of the family is eating. All right. Thank you so much, Instagram. I think that's the end for Instagram. I'm going to go to Facebook and finish from Facebook. So, Tracy say, good evening, Doc. I've treated my baby for malaria, maybe it's stolen after eating. Stolen after eating is not, there's nothing wrong with that. So, why are you treating your baby? For what? You are treating your child for something that is not even a disease. So the fact that your child passed stool after eating is not diarrhea. And again, this is why we need you not to do self-medication. You're treating malaria, you're giving Floranum, you're giving for a child that doesn't even have any diarrhea. So children can pass through after eating. We call it's a reflex. It's normal. And even if some adults feel it, like when you finish eating, you feel that tendency to go and pass through. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the reflex, the waves, what we call peristalsis wave. When you start eating, there's some movement down. So you definitely feel that urge to go and pass through. But there's nothing wrong. For adults, they know how to kind of control themselves, but children sometimes they don't know. If the stools are not watery, then it's not diarrhea, and there's no reason for all these gamuts of medication that you're giving this child at all. Just leave the child alone. So there's nothing wrong at all. Charity say thank you so much. We change Peep twice a day. It's not talking yet. Okay. I think Charity, you had one that asked about drooling. Okay, let me be sure first. Yes, you are the one that asked about drooling. If you are changing beep twice a day, I'm not going to worry about drooling. That's not drooling. And your baby is 18 months. 18 months should have at least few words, single words. But if your child is not yet talking by 2 years, please see a speech therapist. All right. 9-month-old exploration of her skin. It's like ringworm. You have to see a doctor who is going to confirm that it's ringworm or another kind of rash, who is going to prescribe the medication. We can do that online, and we have to see a rash before we can prescribe medication. And another question: 5-month-old twins always sits her neck to the left side. Although when called, she answers you by facing any direction you have. It is not normal for a child to twist the neck to one side. The neck should be in the midline. So if they are doing that, we call it torticollis. So we need to see the child. We need to know why the child is tilting the neck to one side. So you need to see a doctor, a pediatrician, because we need to, sometimes there's nothing seriously wrong that we may not need to do anything, but we need to be sure there's nothing else that is wrong that we should worry about. So it's best to see your doctor first, and then they can examine the child, and then they can tell you what to do. It's not normal for a child to be tilting the neck to the left side or to any side at all. So please see a pediatrician. Somebody say my son is 22 months. What's the corrected age for him to start communicating? You mean talking very well. Okay, a 2-year-old should be talking. So if you go, since you're on our Facebook group, you can go to the guide section. There's guide 9. In guide 9, we've put there all the speech milestones. So usually the average, I always teach parents by the rule of the thumb. 1 year old should have at least one, they should be saying one word, like single words. 2 year old should be combining at least two words together. So they should be putting two words together. 3 year old should be speaking 3 word sentences. 4 year old should be talking like an adult with full grammar, correct grammar, sentences, and a complex structure sentences. That's a 4 year old level. A 4 year old should talk, and then a stranger should understand a 4 year old talking. So that is a rule of the thumb. But if you want to know the details, you can go to our guide section, guide 9. You can read um, all the different milestones for speech development. All right. So somebody started to say single words. Okay, a child who is saying single words, you cannot say the child is not talking. I know parents sometimes use some expression, uh, but you're actually confusing the doctor. So when you say a child is not talking, it's different from a child who is saying single words. They are not the same thing. So when you say a child is not talking, it means the child has no words at all. That is the understanding of a doctor. But I'm happy you're able to correct that correctly. So Tracy say your child is passing word trees too. So how many times in a day does your child pass word trees too? So it must have 3 times in 24 hours for you to qualify as diarrhea. So when you are giving information, you need to tell us everything. So you say your child passed stool after eating, you didn't tell us the stools are watery, so they are two different things. So, but it's good that you told us now that it's watery, but how many times in 24 hours? So then you really need to see a doctor. If your child is having diarrhea for how long? I can't remember how many days you said now. So, but you definitely need to see a doctor. Your child should not have diarrhea for long. You didn't tell us how many days. Say for 5 days. So 5 days is not bad. Diarrhea can take up to 10 days, up to 10 to 14 days to resolve. So if your child is having diarrhea, all you need to give is ORS and oral zinc. So I don't expect you to start giving Floranum, giving this and that for 5 days of diarrhea. It's not necessary. ORS alone and oral zinc, and pay attention to hygiene, hand washing, boil drinking water. Make sure that the food is prepared hygienically. Make sure that you don't give leftover. You are not using bottle to feed the child. Just make sure you're taking care of all the usual things, and the diarrhea will resolve. If you want more information on diarrhea, you can go to our website. There are do's and don'ts of diarrhea, so you can follow that, and I'm sure it will be fine. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I think my time is up right now. I've gone 15 minutes, 11 minutes beyond time. And then so if you have any question, again, please go to our Facebook group, ask your questions there. Somebody drop a question. Chifega, 6 months old should not be closing their hands should be open. So if your 6 months old is still closing their hands, you need to see a pediatrician. That is what we call feasting, and it is not normal, and it worries the pediatrician. So see a pediatrician and let them do proper evaluation. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for your patience with me, for watching. If you still have any questions, please feel free to go to our Facebook group. Ask your questions there. Somebody will be there to answer your questions from Mondays to Saturdays. And of course, if you want to see any of our pediatrician, you can send us a WhatsApp message. Our WhatsApp number is on the screen. It's also on Instagram. First comment I put there. And on Thursday, I also do ATP hour, but that's in the morning, 10 o'clock, when I teach on a particular topic that has to do with the health of children. You can listen to it live on Facebook and YouTube, or Fresh Waves Radio, or you can actually listen to it on my podcast, Ask Dr. Bemi ATP as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you same time next week by God's grace. Bye.